So today I want to settle an age-old debate. Which guitar is better for rock or country music? A Strat or a Tele? So this question has been asked of guitar players for decades. And honestly, I don't think anyone has come to a conclusive answer. And to be honest, there's a really good reason for that, because in real life, you actually need both. A Tele and a Strat can be the perfect guitars to complement each other. And in this video, I want to try and prove to you that if you take yourself seriously as a session guitarist, a music producer, or as a guitarist in a band where you're going to be spending a lot of time in the studio or playing gigs, then you're probably going to need both at some point. However, what if right now your budget will only allow you to buy one? Which should you get? Although no one has really come to a conclusive answer about which one is best, you certainly find that people tend to have a preference one way or another. And if you stick around until the end of this video, I will tell you what my preference is, and if I had to choose one or the other, a Strat or a Tele, I'll tell you which one I would go with. If you are a solo artist, or maybe a duo, or perhaps you're in a band, and you want some guidance on what the absolute best gear is that you can buy for your budget, then you should download my Ultimate Gear Guide. No matter what your budget, you can get some incredible sounding gear, whether it's guitars, amplifiers, microphones, drums, cymbals, to suit pretty much any budget. So whether you're on a really tight or beginner's budget, whether you're somewhere in the middle, you've kind of done with the beginner stuff and you're looking for the next step, or whether you've been an established touring musician for many years and you want the absolute best that money can buy, then this guide will help you. It's completely free. Just go to pages.adam-fiasco.com/gear guide. The link is in the description below. So this is the first guitar up for discussion. It is one of my favorite guitars that I own and also one of the cheapest. It's a standard Mexican Fender Telecaster. Nothing special at all. I think the colour is called Lake Placid Blue. I did change out the scratch plate. It came with kind of like a cream coloured scratch plate, which looked really nice, but I saw one of the Elite models that had this tortoiseshell scratch plate on and thought it looked really nice. So I picked one of these up really cheap off Amazon and put it on myself. I think it was like £5, £10, something like that. And I really like the look of it. One thing I have done though, if you can see that here, I've changed the pickup at the bridge. So I've swapped out the standard Fender pickup for a Seymour Duncan quarter pound. The reason that I did that is because I wanted to keep the standard Tele sound. Teles have got a very specific sound, which I wanted to keep, but I wanted a little bit more beef and a little bit more low end. And that is what, I'd read all of the reviews and kind of spoken to some people that had used it. That is what they all said this did. It kept that very classic Tele sound, but it offered a little bit more in terms of weight and lows. And honestly, I love it. I've not looked back since. But other than that, it is completely standard. I bought this probably around 10 years ago now. I paid £400 for it, brand new, and it's incredible. It plays really well. It sounds incredible. It gets used on pretty much every single record that I produce, and when I play live with my band, the Fiasco, this is the guitar that I use. The guitar we're going to be comparing the Tele to is this Fender Strat, which is original in every conceivable way. It is an American, so it's not a Mexican like the Tele is. It's just an American standard Stratocaster. I believe the colour is called Olympic White, so it is a white finish, but it has got an off-white sort of tinge to it, so it's ever so slightly cream or slightly yellow, and it is a solid colour. There's no transparency or any wood grain coming through, and we've also got the maple fretboard as well. So cosmetically and electronically, this is completely standard. It's got the original American pickups, the original bridge, absolutely everything is as you would buy it from the shop. I did get this second hand. In fact, I believe it was the bargain of the century. It's an American. I think these retail for like £1,400, maybe about £1.5 in the UK. And this is absolutely perfect condition. There's absolutely no dings at all. I paid £600 for it. I found it on Gumtree, and it's brilliant. It's exactly what you would expect to find from a Strat. So those are both of the guitars. As I said, neither of them particularly cost me a huge amount of money, but both of those guitars make their way onto pretty much every single song that I produce because they complement each other so well. So now I'm going to let you have a look inside some of those sessions. We've got some country music, we've got some rock music, and we've got some sort of country rock hybrid music. And I want to show you exactly how I use a Telecaster and a Strat in a song. Particularly how I use both of those guitars and blend the sounds together to get an overall really big, rich, detailed and wide guitar sound. Once we've done that, I'll come back and I will give you my opinion on if I just had to choose one of these guitars, which one would I go with? So let's go and take a look at some sessions. Okay, so this is the first song we're going to take a look at. It's called Some Days. It's by an American singer-songwriter called Steve Sheets. It's based in New Jersey. Incredible singer-songwriter. Definitely should check him out. And for this particular track, we hired a female singer for it. We thought it suited a female vocal much better. So the artist that's performing is called Lauren Faye Moss. She's from the UK. Incredible singer-songwriter in her own right. Should definitely check both of those guys out. Their links are in the description below. So this is a really catchy, kind of typical pop country track, and the Tele and the Strat are both perfect for this. In fact, they complement each other really, really well. And I don't think, in fact, I know I didn't use any other guitars on this track at all. So let's start off. I'll play the first chorus so you can hear the track as a whole, and then we'll dive in a little bit deeper into what each of the guitars are doing.
Oh yeah, you should know that some days there is pain and there is laughter. Some days there's blows. In some ways I'm falling faster, and I can break, and that's
So the first track we're going to take a look at is this one here called Guitar Crunch. As you can see, it's 2 tracks. And this is the Mexican Tele, 2 tracks, one panned hard left, the other hard right. Just playing really simple, bog standard rhythm through some crunchy amps. Let's take a listen. So nothing spectacular at all. They are literally just laying the foundations. In terms of processing, we've got a little bit of top and bottom, so some upper mids and some lows, and then finishing off with slate VTM. So not a huge amount of processing here, but the Tele just cuts through really well. It's got some really, really nice beef in the low mids. Some of that is thanks to the Seymour Duncan quarter pound, but also it's got that bite. I absolutely love the bite that you get from a Tele, and particularly when you pair it with the right amp. So on the left here, we've got a Vox AC30, and on the right, we've got an Orange Rock Reverb, probably somewhere around medium in terms of gain. But what I love about the Tele and these amp combos is that when you play lightly, you just get some light breakup, but then as soon as you start to dig in a little bit more, the amp breaks up and you get more crunch. It's so dynamic, and it just works so well for this kind of music. Let's take a listen once more. So there, just that last little bit, you could really hear just digging in a little bit more and getting some more crunch from the amp. So moving on to the next one, we've got this one here, which is just labeled Guitar Strat. And these are just some stabs. These are just some really, really high, I think they're just 5th note chords. Just playing some stabs in the background. It's a clean amp. I believe this is an AC30, but again, just on clean. And there's one panned hard left and one panned hard right, but otherwise they are identical tracks, just playing the exact same thing. Let's take a listen. Really, really simple, but in the track it's going to add some really nice movement. Moving on to the next one, we've got this one that's called Guitar Clean Plus Left. This is the Mexican Tele, panned hard left, just on its own. It's just a single mono track, again through a Vox AC30. I think the gain is set somewhere around... probably somewhere around 1-2 o'clock, so slightly past the halfway mark. So this is playing some individual notes. I think it's 8th notes or thereabouts. That is just going to keep the song moving in the guitars, because obviously the rhythms are not doing much. They're just playing on 1 and 2. So this is going to add some movement where those chords are kind of dying out. Let's take a listen. So it's kind of just playing like a dotted eighth rhythm there, which is just really going to complement those rhythm guitars and add some movement to the track. And then the final one we've got here, it's very light on guitars, this track, is the Strat Jangle. I like to do this in so many productions, just a really jangly tone on the Strat. So it's pickup position either 4 or 5 on the guitar itself, and then this is going into a Blues Deluxe amp. Gain is set somewhere around halfway, maybe just past. I'm scooping quite a lot of mids out of this on the amp itself and adding some presence and some top. In terms of what I've got going off in the mix, I don't think there's an awful lot. Again, if I just bring this up here, a little bit of 4K, and that's it. Other than that, we've just got slate, VTM. Very, very minimal processing in the mix. It's mostly just the amp that you hear in the sound at source. So let's take a listen. So that's panned hard right, which is going to complement this Tele that was playing that dotted eighth rhythm in the hard left. Let's take a listen to both of those together and see what we're getting just from those two guitar tracks. So that adds some really nice movement and groove to the track. Let's take a listen now to all of those guitars together. So we've got the crunch rhythms, we've got the Strat stabs, and then we've got the left dotted eighth rhythm Tele and the right jangle Strat. So it sounds great. It's really, really bitey and cuts through, but it's also got a lot of weight. There's plenty of room for the vocals to sit in that sort of like mid-range. So let's go back and have a listen to the track as a whole now, how it all fits in. We'll start with the vocals off so you can just focus on the instruments themselves, see if you can pick out each of these individual parts, and then we'll come back and we'll put the vocals back in. Let's take a listen to the vocals in.
Oh yeah, you should know that some days there is pain and there is laughter. Some days there's buzz. In some ways, I'm falling faster.
Okay, so next up we've got a country rock song. This is by a UK singer-songwriter called Kerry Fuller. And this is a song that I produced for quite recently. In fact, as we speak, this song has made it through to the finals on the World Songwriting Awards, and Kerry is still waiting to find out if she has won for this song in modern country music in the whole category. So good luck. Kerry absolutely deserves this. So maybe when this video goes out, she'll have won. But either way, it's a great song. She's a great songwriter. You should definitely check her out. The link is in the description below. So, country rock music, Tele Strats are absolutely perfect for this. There's quite a few guitar tracks in this as well, and they just sound great. They just complement each other really, really well, like we just saw in the Steve Sheets track. So let's play the last chorus where it's all kind of building up. There's lots happening in the mix, and the guitars are playing a really, really important role in that. Here we go.
What of love, baby, and writing this song. Don't take it for granted. It's not a word for sheets. So don't make her cry, baby. She'll be there for years. Don't
Okay, so lots going off in this song. It's a huge, huge production, and the guitars are playing a big role in making this sound so big and so wide. So let's start off with the first track. It's called Guitar Crunch, and it's 2 tracks, 1 panned hard left, 1 panned hard right. And this is a Telecaster. This is just the blue Mexican Tele. Nothing special at all. It's got the 1/4 pounder pickup in the in the bridge position from Seymour Duncan. The left side is going through an AC30. The right side is going through an orange Rockerverb, I believe. I love that combo with a Tele, particularly for crunch. And the gain is somewhere around the halfway point. So let's take a listen. The guitars are integral all the way through this song, in the verses and in the choruses. So I'm going to play the first verse. You can hear what it's kind of doing, and then you can see how it builds up into the chorus. Let's take a listen. So these guitars are complementing each other really, really nicely. I've purposely left bits out of the left and the right, so it just makes it sound really, really wide. But again, you can just hear that classic Tele bite. It just sounds so good at cutting through the mix. Let's take a listen to what that sounds like in full.
We're independent. We take on the world. We bury inside all the strain and the pain. Pretend it don't hurt. Forgive us.
Just adding some really, really nice movement there. Now, as we get to the chorus, these guitars open up a lot. And again, I've said this before with the Steve Sheets track. I love when you dig into the Vox and the Orange, how you get more breakup. That's just one of the things that I absolutely love about tube amps. So let's take a listen of those guitars going into the chorus. So really, really simple rhythm guitars. I purposely didn't have them doing too much so that there's space for other guitars in the mix to add the movement. So let's move on to some of those other guitars. The first one we've got is a Strat Jangle. I believe this is exactly the same Strat setup that we had in the previous song, Steve Sheets. It's my go-to combination. So it's the Strat on pickup position 4 or 5 into a Blues Deluxe amp. The mids are really, really scooped out because it's a very mid-rangey amp. And then I'm boosting some treble and some presence. Let's take a listen. So that's going to sound great when we pair it with the crunch guitars. Let's take a listen to those two together. You can already start to hear it filling out. Onto the next guitar. We've got this one here. It's called Guitar AC30 Clean Plus. So this is a Tele. It's panned hard right, and it's through an AC30 that's just on the brink of breakup. So if you play this nice and gentle, you're going to get a clean sound. If you really dig in, it's going to be a crunch sound. I love that setting because it just allows you to play really dynamically in the song. And this is playing an 8-note pattern. So again, it's adding movement. Let's take a listen to this on its own. And notice it is panned hard right, so it's going to complement that jangly Strat that we've got going. In fact, let's take a listen to those together. And put the crunch rhythms in. Sounds really, really good. It's just really, really filling out. Some of the other guitars that I haven't mentioned, there's this one here, the Guitar Mars Major. That's Les Pauls. It's just really, really heavy Les Pauls. Take a quick listen. So just really far in the background, just adding some extra girth to the overall guitar sound. And then the final ones are these two down here. These are the lead guitar tracks. We've got one panned left, one panned right. They're both just the standard Mexican Tele through an orange amp, orange rocker verb, just playing licks. Let's take a listen. So that's just leading into the chorus. Just makes it sound more exciting. Got one in the middle of the chorus here. Some nice country licks, just typical of this kind of music. So this top one, the one on the left, is set at the bridge position, and the one that's panned to the right is set in the middle position. So it's just got a slightly different tone to it. Both going through the same orange rocker verb amp on the same settings. So let's take a listen to all of that together. So as you can hear, the guitars are playing a really big role in this song to make it sound really, really wide and just really, really grand. I've got particularly these licks going through a couple of delays and a really nice hall reverb just to make them sound really big. But also just the rhythms having different things in the left and the right and being different amps just adds so much width. So definitely, if this is something that you've not experimented before with, definitely try using different amps for your rhythm guitars, left and right. And also try having them play just very slightly different things. So this then goes all the way through the song, that kind of pattern. It goes into the bridge, which is where we are now, and then it kind of just keeps going. So let's take a listen where we got up to with the vocals in. See if you can pick out any of these guitars. I'll solo the jangly Strat and the 8th note Tele as we're going through at various points so that you can just kind of focus on them a little bit more. Take a listen. There we have it. Again, this is just another example of a song where I'm using both the Tele and the Strat together, and the blend just works so well. So the last song I want to talk you through is a straight up rock song. It's called Pandemic Black, and it's by an artist who's based in the Netherlands called David Chutby. Really, really catchy. Really, really great songwriting, fantastic all-out rock song. Should definitely check him out. It's about the pandemic, it's about COVID-19 and the struggles that we've all been going through over the last 2 years. Definitely check it out because I know he's got more music coming as well because I worked on that with him too. So his link is in the description below. So this being an all-out rock song has got quite a few guitars in it. And first of all, I did use a Les Paul quite a lot in this, particularly for some of the rhythms because it just needed that sound. Nothing sounds like a Les Paul, and when you need a Les Paul sound, that's what we go for. However, we still very, very much used a Tele and a Strat, and they just complement each other so well, even in this kind of music. So first of all, let's take a listen to just a section of this song. I'll play you halfway through the verse and into the chorus, just so you can hear what's going off and start to get an idea of what the guitars are doing. Here we go.
Inside, you and I know, but don't take my youth away. With friends, don't let them go astray. Yeah. Give me back my life, the one I hadn't really loved before. I didn't ask for this, the patience gone out, that's for sure.
Okay, so as you can hear, other than the vocals, the guitars really are the main event in this song. We've got that scorching riff, and then we've got a huge kind of sea of guitars when the chorus hits that all just kind of come together to make it sound really, really big and really, really wide. So focusing on the Tele and the Strat, let's take a look at what we've got. I'm going to start off with this track here that's called Guitar Orange Crunch. So as we've seen before, this is two guitars, one panned hard left, the other hard right, and we used a Tele for both of them. It was the blue Mexican Tele, and as usual, we use different amps. On the left, we've got an orange rocker verb set to around medium gain, and on the right, we've got a Wizard 50, again set to roughly medium sort of gain. Let's take a listen to that guitar on its own. So really, really simple rhythm. Again, cannot overstress the importance of keeping your rhythm guitars really, really simple, because that is what's going to leave space for you to add other stuff. And that just lays a really, really good foundation. So the next track you can see here is a guitar riff track. That was actually a Les Paul. It's just playing in the gaps between the vocals in the chorus. I can just play you what that sounds like. Really, really simple lick. Next, we've got that classic jangly Strat. So this is just a single guitar track on its own. It's panned hard right using the favourite combination. Strat, pickup position 4 or 5 through the blues deluxe. Scooped mids, plenty of presence on top. Let's take a listen to what that's doing. So that's just going to add some really nice movement to the song. A little bit less gain than what we heard in the previous two examples. However, because there's such high gain amps in this, it really helped give this part more definition just by backing off that gain just a little bit. You also notice, although it is panned hard right, there is something going off in the left, and that is because I've routed that particular track to a hall reverb and also a crowd delay. A crowd delay is my just short bursts of repeated delays, so that just gives it again just a little bit more dimension in the mix. So in the choruses, that is pretty much it. We do have an extra heavy track here. That is Les Paul's, just used for the extra heaviness. I can just play you that so you can hear what it sounds like. Just long sustained chords that can just be mixed in as much as needed just to give some extra weight, brightness and bigness to the guitar sound. So let's take a listen to all of those guitars together in the chorus. They just work together so well. That Strat out on the right just adds some real nice movement. And the rhythm guitars, we've got the crunch and those heavy Les Paul ones that are just laying the foundations for everything else to fall in place. Now, if we go back to the verses, we did have some different guitars going off in the verse. The first one is this lead here. This is just a Telecaster through an AC30 with a bit of extra gain on top. I think we used a tube screamer in front of the AC30 just for a touch of extra gain. This is then routed through a hall reverb, quarter note delay and the crowd delay just to give it some extra size. And I'll play that now so you can hear what it's doing. It's mostly twiddly guitar fills where the vocals stop or where there's space for it. Let's take a listen to some of these. Really nice lead guitar sound. The feedback that you can hear at the end of that was from a pedal. We actually used a Digitech Freakout, which just adds so much sustain to any lead part that you want, and it just kind of creates that reverb, which I just thought sounded so cool. Let's take a listen to the next one. Again, some feedback there from the Freakout pedal. And the next one that we've got is this one down at the bottom called Guitar Trem. So this is two Teles, so one hard left, one hard right. Both of them going through an orange Rockaverb amp with a tremolo. We've also got the Digitech Freakout pedal on there as well. Such a cool effect. Let's put all of that together in the track. I'm going to mute the vocals so you can just focus on how the guitars are sitting and kind of all working together. So as you can hear, all of the guitars work together so closely to make this track what it is. When the chorus hits and that Strat comes in on the right hand side, it just adds so much lift and also so much movement that we weren't getting in the verse, and that's on purpose because we wanted the chorus to really press forward and we want it to sound bigger and wider and just grander than the verses. So we have to save something back for the choruses. The tremolo in the second verse just adds such a cool effect, particularly with that Freakout pedal adding the feedback in some of the parts as well. Let's take a listen now with the vocals in. You can hear how it's all working together.
A great show postponed for the third time can go order to stay inside. Yeah, well, I know, but don't take my youth away with friends. Don't let them
Okay, so as you've just seen in those examples, you can get such an incredible blend of sounds by using both a Tele and a Strat together. They complement each other perfectly. The Tele just has that classic Tele bite that just sits in a mix with virtually no effort at all, but yet can cut through. And the Strat is just a classic all-rounder. It can be mellow, it can be clean, it can also crunch up and do really jangly tones as well. And when you start to blend them together, and particularly when you have one pan left and one pan right, you can get a really great, detailed and wide guitar sound overall. So now is the age-old question. If you just had the money to buy one of these guitars right now, which one would you go with? You could watch 100 videos on this topic and you would probably see a 50-50 split, with half of the people choosing a Tele, half of the people choosing a Strat. So what would I choose? If I had to get rid of all of my guitars and just keep one of them, what would I be going with? For me, it would be the Telecaster. Even though it's just a standard Mexican Tele, that's the one that I would choose. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, in my opinion, a Telecaster can do absolutely everything. Certain guitars can do certain jobs better. So for example, if you want really chunky, heavy rock rhythm guitars, then a Les Paul is probably going to do a better job in most circumstances than a Tele for that. A Strat can do jangly tones better than a Tele in most circumstances. Sometimes you might want the glassy, clean tones that a Strat does, that a Tele just doesn't do as well. However, a Tele can still do all of those things. Even if it's not the best guitar for a job, in my experience, a Tele is just super versatile. And if that is the only guitar that I had to do an entire production, I could make it work. With a Strat, personally, I don't think it would come out sounding as good for the music that I produce and the way that I work. Your mileage may vary. So there you have it, the overall answer to this video. Which guitar is best for rock or country music, a Strat or a Tele? You need both. But if you are going to pressure me into a decision, for me, it would be a Tele. But I am really interested to find out what your choice would be. So drop a comment below and let me know. Don't forget, you can also download my ultimate gear guide. If you are a beginner, if you're an intermediate, or if you are an advanced, experienced professional, then my ultimate gear guide gives you the very, very best gear to suit any budget. Budget is no longer a limitation to get great sounding equipment, whether it's guitars, basses, microphones, PA systems, drums, cymbals, or anything else that you might need. My ultimate gear guide gives you some of the very best equipment that you can get, whether you're on a really low beginner budget, an intermediate budget, or whether you want the absolute best that money can buy. It's completely free. Just go to pages.adam-fiasco.com/gear guide. The link is in the description below. Enjoy.